Hello, Faith Street friends. Do you remember that in today's story, Joseph's life was so up and down and up and down? Things were always looking really bad, but every single time he remembered that God is good. And when he looked back at his life and talked to his brothers about it, he said, God meant it for good. So even when bad things happened to him, God meant it for good and used it for good. And so things weren't always as they seemed. Even when it looked really bad for Joseph, God was doing good. So one of the art activities they recommended for this is this super cool little hand. And this hand is really just flat. See, it's a flat piece of paper. But it kind of looks like it's sticking off the paper, sticking out of the paper. And so it's kind of a little reminder to us that things aren't always as they seem, right? It might look really bad for you or for me, but God is doing something good. So in this little optical illusion, it's tricking your eyes. I think sometimes we forget, and it's good for us to be reminded that things aren't always as they seem. It might look really bad, but God's going to do something really good. So in this case, it looks like the hand is sticking off the page, but it's just a flat piece of paper. So it's not always as it seems. So to remind us that things aren't always as they seem, we're going to take a piece of paper, a marker, and our hand. And if you have an envelope, just an old envelope from the mail, I'm sure there's one sitting around. Ask your mom and dad if you can borrow it. I'm going to show you how to use this envelope to help you with this project. Okay? So are you ready? I'm going to tip the camera down now a little bit more so you can see my paper and you won't see me, okay? Well, you'll see my arm maybe or something. All right, so first thing we're going to do is trace our hand, okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to move my bracelets out of the way. But you want some of your arm in the picture, and you're going to trace your hand. I think it helps if you spread your fingers out a little bit. So I'm going to get my bracelets there. And I'm not going to touch my hand. I'm just going to go around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. So I'm just tracing my hand. Don't spend a lot of time. And if you are going to try to get close by your hand, don't use a permanent marker. Okay, and then go off the page with your hand in your sleeve. Okay, so there is my hand. I think you can see that pretty well. Next, I'm going to use my envelope, and I'm going to actually start on the bottom of my page for you guys. And I'm going to put my envelope on the paper and making sure the side of the envelope is lined up exactly with my paper so that there's no crooked. Do you see how that looks crooked? And you can see this blue piece right there. There, you can see that? That's crooked. So make sure that your envelope is lined up. It's squared up. That's what that's called. And I'm going to draw a line until I get to my hand. When I get to my hand, I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to go to the other side of my hand and I'm going to go again. And then I'm going to go up a little bit more. And when I get to my hand, I stop. Do not cross over your hand with your line. And then go next to your hand again and finish your line. So the lines are sort of in the back right now of our hand. So every time you get to your hand line, stop. Go to the other side and pick up that line. And you're going to do that the whole way. And I did this with the friends on Faith Street. It worked great today. And Claire actually did her whole hand, her whole page first with the lines, and then went back, and I'll show you what we're going to add to get the hand to almost hop off the page, okay? So I'm just putting on the paper, lines always next to my hand. So I'm going to pick it up and show you just so you can see it next to my hand, all right? So I'm not going to do the whole thing because it would take forever, but you can see me, right? I hope. Now I'm going to start with one of my lines and I'm going to make it hop over my hand by adding a curved line or like a rainbow to the other side. all right? So I want my rainbow to start here and go across my hand all the way to the other side, to this line. They have to catch each other. So this line, I'm gonna add a rainbow or a curved line across the page, and I'm gonna stop at that other line on this side. Can you see that? So I went from this line, I went over my hand, I gave it a little curve like a rainbow, connected it to this side. All right, and you need to do that for all of your lines. So it's a little bit tedious, but you're gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down, and up and down. And that makes now your hand look like it's sticking off the page. Now I'm gonna go up a little bit further so that you can see what to do when you get to the fingers, all right? So my straight line stops at the hand and goes past the hand, always. Straight line stops at the hand and then goes to the other side. But when you get to the fingers, you're gonna have to go in between the fingers with your straight line. So I stop at my hand, I'm gonna go between my hand and my thumb straight, and then after my thumb straight. So that's kind of tricky. All right, when you get to any part of your hand, you have to stop your line, pick it back up in between every time. All right, so I'm gonna do a couple more lines so you can see. And again, every time I'm lining up my envelope, squaring it up with the paper so that I get straight lines, because it's a lot easier if your lines are straight. If they start going crooked, it's very hard. All right, and then you might have to flip your paper over and try again, because that's one way we can fix a mistake, right? All right, so I'm not gonna go to the top, but you can see now that my lines are going in between your fingers, right? None of them touch on top of your finger. All right, but the same thing. I'm gonna connect with little rainbows for the fingers. Little rainbows. All right, so see how I connected? This top line connected with a little rainbow to this top line, little rainbow to this top line, and so on. And you're gonna do that for all your fingers too. Those are gonna be little mini rainbows, right? You're always trying to connect your side lines, your straight lines with your rainbow lines. All right. Now you're gonna get to the hand and you're gonna go, oh boy, how am I gonna do a rainbow there? This is it's a big space, all right? So do you see my big space on the hand here? Well, on a hand, to make it look like it's crossing my hand, I'm gonna have to use a bigger rainbow. So I'm just gonna kind of make a rainbow go all the way from this one to this one, and all the way from this one to this one. And this is gonna be a really big rainbow. This one and this one have to connect. Let me see if you can see it. There you go. All right, ready? So I'm just gonna make it go up a little curve. It's almost gonna touch my thumb, and then down. And this one, a little curve, and down. Maybe that was more of a curve, I don't know. All right, so my hand is starting to pop right off the page, so things aren't always as they seem. So keep that in mind, Faith Street friends. God has a plan, he'll work it out for good. Things are not always as they seem, they're not as bad as it looks, because God's in control, and we can trust him. All right, so good luck with your optical illusion art. Don't forget to sign it in a tricky spot, and I hope to see you back on Faith Street soon. Bye, friends.